So, seeing as I'm currently writing within the post-apocalyptic genre, I thought it would be a good idea to discuss and share some tips within it. Now, my series is technically post-apocalyptic, like so far gone that the people within it don't really know much about what went on, and to be honest, most of them don't really care. They're busy with their own lives. But usually with post-apocalyptic, it's either apocalyptic in the sense of, the apocalypse is happening, the big events are happening within the story and the world is being destroyed, or it's just literally after it where people are dealing with the aftermath of the event, like The Walking Dead, for example, where people lived through the event, or Last of Us, where people lived through the event and then are then carving out their lives afterwards, but still knew what life was like before. So in the back of their heads they're trying to rebuild and aim for that previous sort of standard. Where if it's post-apocalyptic, where people don't really know what things were like back then, they're not really aiming towards the same sort of get up. They're just trying to repair and live and sort of move on with it, if that makes any sense. So the first thing to really consider within the post-apocalyptic genre is to set the rules and know that you're the one in charge of creating this new world. So you're either destroying it currently, or it's been destroyed, and now it's up to you to decide on the different pockets of people around your world, whether it's based on Earth or a different world, an alternative universe, and essentially decide how people have reacted, what directions they're going in. How do people react to this event if it's sort of nearby, or if they lived through it, how are people reacting to it now? Are the people responsible still knocking about? Essentially, just don't be afraid to think outside of the box of what's already been done, because you are making this world, and world building is a big, or at least in my opinion, aspect of post-apocalyptic and bringing in a sort of a new direction to where your world's heading. The second part, which is very much related to the first part, is to decide on what the cause of the apocalypse was, like what caused the world to essentially self-destruct and knock out society and have to have people rebuild. Like, was there someone behind this? Was it random? Was it a freak accident? Does it play into your story? Do people know about it, or is it secret? Does no one know about it? Is there a sense of mystery with what actually caused the world to be how it is today? Is there anyone that know the finite details, or is it all blurry and no one really cares? And of course, if it is important, it then goes on to, well, who caused it? Is it a certain faction that's still about now, or are they all completely gone? Did it benefit some people but not others? But yes, essentially again, world building, deciding on this cataclysmic event that happened, and whether you want it to play a big or small role in your story, or if it's not relevant at all. And the third thing to consider is the atmosphere. So are you going dark and gritty? Are you going again with like games like Last of Us? Are you going with things like Mad Max, where people are fighting over the basic resources and everyone is slightly disfigured in that story? Is it a harsh world like The Road, which arguably is very dark and very, if you've read that book, then it's just important for you to set the tones of your world. Are there safe havens that people can run to? Do places have more resources than others? Are they friendly? Are they hostile? Is it dangerous to be out alone in the world or the wasteland? And that then brings us on to like the fourth point, of course, which is mutations. So in like things like Mad Max, they're not mutations, but everyone's just a little bit disfigured, like as a mark of what the apocalypse has done to them. Whereas in Fallout, you've got things like mutants, ghouls, aliens. Everything has been hit hard. Everything has sort of moved and turned into something else because of the radiation from a previous time? Or is it something more like The Walking Dead, where there's just zombies? Again, that leads on to Last of Us, where there's kind of zombies, but they're more like fungusy sort of things, and they react to sound, and it's sort of a different take on zombies. So with sort of making these supernatural things, or whether you want it to be aliens instead, maybe the supernatural things that are out there are cool and chill with you, Which then sort of brings me on to like the last-ish sort of point, which, most apocalyptic things tend to focus on recovery and survival and rebuilding in the new world. So that's where you decide what has actually survived, how they survive, and is it the same across the board everywhere on your continent. But yes, a little bit rambly this. I hope it has helped to some sort of degree. But essentially with post-apocalyptic, just the world, or your world, is your oyster. You can do whatever whatever you want. You can change the rules. Of course, I recommend trying to still keep it grounded in reality just to try and bring in that realism, but that's my personal opinion that I do for my books. If you want to just go absolutely crazy, then that's entirely up to you, but just have fun with it. There aren't any real rules that come down to it. With the post-apocalyptic stuff, it's just thinking clearly with what's caused these events, how people have reacted to it, whether it feels realistic enough, and most of the time gets the reader to question what would they do in that event. But yeah, that's it for this video. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.